Even in the chill of February, March, there's still plenty of things to see and do here in Portsmouth. On today's show, we'll take a look at a few of them, and if they share a common theme, it's stories. Beloved stories from childhood, stories from Black history, and the story of one legendary figure from the Wild West that ended right here in Portsmouth. Are you intrigued? Then stay tuned. We'll tell you more right here, right now, on this episode of Portsmouth Now. Welcome to this February, March 2023 episode of Portsmouth Now. I'm your host, Rob Lauer. On a cold, wintry day, why should a family stay cooped up inside when they can go to the Children's Museum of Virginia on High Street in Old Town Portsmouth? Our first guest is Erin Colson, who tells us about upcoming events at the museum, including a very special Storyland exhibit. Erin, welcome back to Portsmouth Now.
Thank you for having me.
So it's winter time, Christmas is over, it's sort of cold outside, maybe inclement, kids can't really go out. Where can they go?
To the Children's Museum of Virginia, Rob, come on.
Yeah, of course. So what do you have coming up in February and March?
So we actually open a new traveling exhibit on January 21st, and it runs through May, and it is called Storyland Adventures. It's based on 6 popular children's books. Kids get a chance to interact with and experience the stories. Part of them are read aloud in English and Spanish. There are activities from all 6 of the books as part of the exhibit. We're really excited.
What stories are there? What are some of the stories?
Everything from Spot the Dog to Tuesday to Chicka Chicka Boom Boom,
Okay.
where all the letters climb the coconut tree. Snowy Day is part of it, as well as Abuela.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a
Y'all
lot
have
of fun.
great traveling exhibits.
Yeah.
You really do. So what else then?
We have sock skating that goes on this month still, so people are welcome to sock skate. And then as we move into February, we're excited to celebrate as part of the Black History Now series with the city of Portsmouth. We're going to do Unsung Heroes of American Dance, the Alvin Ailey experience on the 2nd Saturday in February. So we'll have a live and interactive performance a couple times that day for families to get involved in. And then of course we have Andalo's Library, the 3rd Saturday of every month.
Right.
We'll be reading Black history books that have been recommended by teachers in the local area. So we'll be sharing those, and Andalo will be sharing those with our guests.
Oh great, so Andalo is still around.
He sure is.
Okay. Now, there is of course a day pass where you get in.
Absolutely.
Family, but what if someone becomes a member or gets is that a year pass then for the
Absolutely,
person?
yes. So a membership's good for an entire year. So the best thing to do is to purchase even a family membership at $90 a year. It gives 4 people access for 12 months, as many visits as you want. Plus you get additional things like our member nights where you get to experience exhibits without all the other guests.
Yeah.
Additional activities, monthly emails with extra information in them as well. It's a lot of fun.
I know for a family, if they have parents, 2 kids, and they're going to come here for a day, they probably feel if they're just buying a day ticket, they need to get here in the morning and really make a day of it.
Right.
But with the year-long membership,
You could come for 45 minutes.
45
and leave.
minutes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
so any time it's open.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are happy to convert day tickets to a membership. So if you come in and have a great time, we'll credit that towards the cost of the membership for you. So you don't even
That's
lose
a great
anything. Yeah, it's a great
deal.
perk.
It really is, it really is. Now, if people wanted to find out more about what's going on, is there a website they can go to?
Sure. So for all the Children's Museum information, it's childrensmuseumvirginia.com. There's a great membership page. You can click through all the options, as well as explore the exhibit and other things we have going on over the next few months. And then for all our Black History Now information for the museums, I'd visit portsvaevents.com. It's an interactive calendar. It gives you a list and additional information about everything.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming over here. And I love the Children's Museum of Virginia.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. So check it out, the Children's Museum of Virginia. Our next guest is Stephen Gurnett, who's here to tell us about upcoming events at the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center. Stephen, welcome back to Portsmouth Now.
Thank you so very much, Rob.
And you're here to tell us about what's happening in February and March at the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center. And I'd like to say something first. People think of this as a museum. You go to a museum, you just sort of stand and look at art. But actually, you all sponsor workshops, lectures, classes, live music. There is so much going on to do there. an addition to the exhibits.
Yeah, in fact, right now we're closed because we're installing a new exhibit.
What is that exhibit?
That's going to be called Sailing to Freedom, and this is part of the Black History Now series of programming that's all the museums under the Department of the City of Portsmouth will be participating in, as well as the library, the main library off of Court Street.
Yeah.
So it's a collaborative effort between our two departments, and we are going to offer this exhibit. It will be on the maritime history as it relates to the Underground Railroad.
Okay.
And that's going to open on February 18th. And the book, Sailing to Freedom, which the exhibit is based on, was written by Timothy Walker. He co-wrote Sailing to Freedom, the book, and he's going to come and give a presentation.
Wow.
And that'll be on the same day that the exhibit opens. So February 18th is the reception, the opening of this exhibit, Sailing to Freedom, and a presentation by Timothy Walker, as well as a book signing. So it's going to be a great event to sort of kick off the exhibit.
Now, is this open to the public?
This is all free and open to the
Oh,
public.
okay. So a lecture, new exhibit, and a
Yeah.
reception.
And the week before, one of our treasures, a local historian, Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, is going to give a presentation on Harriet Tubman. And I didn't know this, but Harriet Tubman, like a lot of historical figures, was based at Fort Monroe at the time when she was much younger.
Yeah.
So she's going to talk about sort of the early years and work that Harriet Tubman did. And then towards the end of the month, February 24th, we're going to have another historian, an archaeologist named Dr. Daniel Sayers, and he's going to come and talk about his work excavating artifacts from the Dismal Swamp, researching people who are escaping slavery,
Who set up community there?
who rather than use it as a way of escaping, they decided they would just hide out in the Dismal Swamp.
Which gives you an indication of how awful their condition was that they were running from.
Exactly. So that these should all be really excellent programs and lectures, and this is always going on throughout the City Museums Department. So there are performances, musical, there are activities for kids at the Children's Museum every second Saturday of the month.
Yeah.
And at the main library, I know on February 4th, the same day that Cassandra will be giving a presentation at the Art Center, they're going to have Bobby Blackhat Walters, who will be performing at the main library. So that should be a really fantastic event. And it's all free and open to the public. If you need more information, because there's a lot of other programs that I just can't cover right now, this is the ticket. This is the brochure you want to find either at any of the museums or city venues. But if you log on to Portsmouth, Portsva events.com, portsvirginiaevents.com, or you can call 393-8983 and get all the information you need that way.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about it. And
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Rob.
thank you.
When you become a Portsmouth police officer, you become the change you want to see. We have a sprawling lineup of career paths for you to explore. Sign on today and receive up to $1,500 if you are already Virginia certified. We offer a $1,000 allowance for a bachelor's degree and $500 for an associate's degree on top of your base pay.
So, do you want to join the team?
Portsmouth Fire Rescue and Emergency Services is hiring, and we need you. Become a firefighter with the City of Portsmouth. We have career opportunities for paramedics, EMTs, military veterans, and career options for recent college graduates. Visit our recruitment page at fire.portsmouthva.gov. Portsmouth Fire Rescue and Emergency Services needs you.
February is Black History Month, and thanks to the good folks at History Alive, our next guests are coming to us direct from the past to tell us stories from Portsmouth Black history. I'm joined by Karen Washburn, who is the creative director of History Alive. Welcome back, Karen.
Thanks, Rob. It's good to be back.
Now, what is going on in March, February, Black History Month, March? I know there's St. Patrick's Day is coming up in March, so some Irish stuff. So what do you have going on as far as tours and things here in Old Town?
We have a lot of exciting things happening. We have our Heroes in History Walk, which is our African American History Walk, which is a year-round walk, but we are offering it every Saturday in February. And then in March, we're going to have Irish body tunes and sea shanties. It's kind of a tongue twister, so I have to say it slowly. But at any rate, we've done this, this will be the third year we've done it, and it's been very successful in years past. And this year, we're going to be doing it across the street at the coffee shop. So we're excited about that. And we're excited because, as you know, we started Maryville the Colonials to build on what Eric Price did with Colonel Crawford,
yes,
the founder of Portsmouth. And so Maryville and the Colonials made sense then, but now we've moved so far beyond that we felt like we needed a new brand. And so
well, you do. I mean, it's not just colonial history; it's Civil War history. It's late 19th century history. You do all periods, and that's great.
So I think it better encompasses, and we have a new website, historyalive.info, where you'll find our school shows, our walking tours, and our events like the one we're going to have across the street.
Okay, now if someone is watching this and they go to the website, I mean, if they are, they just book, if like going to be in Old Town on this day, this time, can you give us a tour, or do you have these tours available? Are the tours set at specific times of the week, or are they people sort of call in and say, I have this date available?
We do have our scheduled walking tours, but we are open to doing private tours, provided, we can't turn on a dime, of course. But we do try to accommodate people, and if we happen to be strolling in Portsmouth that day, we would be happy to accommodate them under those circumstances.
That's great.
But they can also call us and inquire about booking a private tour, because a lot of times people do that. They have family in town and they want to show them around.
That's exactly
and do
what I was
something fun
thinking.
with them.
Yeah.
And so and also we've been doing walking tours for the cruise ships.
Oh, great.
So we just got contracted with them to do, I think it's almost 20 this year. So it's a good way to, because they dock in Norfolk.
Right.
So it's a great way to get them over to Portsmouth. We go meet them at the ship and bring them over on the ferry and do a 3-hour excursion. That includes the Hill House as well.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay, so give us that address again. Web address?
historyalive.info.
Okay, and just sign there and get all the information you need.
That's right.
Well, fantastic. Well, Karen, thank you so much for coming back to Portsmouth Now and telling us what you have coming up this next few months.
Well, thank you for having us again.
Our first guest from the past is a name familiar to many people here in Portsmouth, Jeffrey Wilson. Welcome to Portsmouth Now, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you so much, kind sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Delighted to talk to you. Now, I'm very familiar with your name, but I hate to admit it, I know very little about your life. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, a lot of people didn't know too much about me either, even the people that lived in the section that was named after me. But I was born in 1843. I was born right here in the city of Portsmouth. And I was taken away from my family when I was 10 years old. I was a slave and didn't even know I was a slave. But I was taken away by the Grice family. The Grice family, Ms. Eliza Grice, taught me to read and write. From then on, I advanced my knowledge. Different people taught me to read and write, and I advanced my knowledge. I ended up working at the Navy Yard.
Okay.
Ended up working for the courts also. It was Norfolk County courts at that time. So I was I was a bailiff for Norfolk County courts. I was also a writer for the Portsmouth Star at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I wrote something that you might have heard of called Colored Notes.
Yes, the old, yes.
Yes, Colored Notes was a way of letting the colored people in the area know about what was going on. And Colored Notes was in the back of the Portsmouth Star. Mr. Norman Hamilton was the editor of the Portsmouth Star at that time. So he saw fit to let me get a little part of that paper and get a little section in the back. It was in the very back of the paper. It was behind the comic strips and underneath the want ads. It was the last thing up. But see, colored people thought it was a great opportunity to find out what was going on in the Jim Crow South, what was going on in the neighborhood, and what was going on generally around what colored people were thinking about.
Yeah.
You know, those type of things. Yes, sir.
And something also, if a white person was so inclined, they could look at it
They
too.
could look at Colored Notes also.
Yeah.
They could look at Colored Notes.
That's okay. So now you are part of, you're going to be on some of the tours that we're doing in February?
As a matter of fact, in February, we've got some wonderful tours coming up. The tours are going to start at Saturday. Now, we've always had Emmanuel AME on our tour, but this time, in February, in the month of February, Pastor Hunter, who is the pastor of AME of Emmanuel AME, has agreed to let us come inside and see the history of this wonderful church. This church is the undertaking of monumental Methodists and free slaves and slaves putting their efforts together to go into this monumental achievement of love to build this church after the old Emmanuel was burned down. So this is a monumental effort, and the church has so much history in it.
Yeah.
And when we go on our tour, we're going to be talking about the history that goes along with that church also.
It was a site on the Underground Railroad.
Oh yes, it
very
was.
famous
It
for
was.
that.
And I don't want to give too much away, but once you get inside the church and you see that that edifice and you see how it looks inside the church, you can see where there would have been hiding places for the slaves who were seeking.
It's a magnificent church, and
Yes, it
really
is.
impressive considering that it was built by people of color at a
Yes,
time
sir.
with so much discrimination. Now, I understand that you also helped build that.
Yes, sir. Well, what it was, I was around during the time of it. And I became the superintendent of the church. Since I was around, I was there to watch a lot of the construction that was going on in that church. And I had a unique perspective of the church because I knew how the church was built. I knew the little hiding places in the church. And I would, as I was doing on Sunday school, I would tell some of the people I tell the people, a lot of them, the children were too young to understand, but I would tell them about the history of the church and how it blended into society, how it was right down there in Lincolnville. That was a colored part of town back then. And so how it just blended into there.
Wow.
There are a lot of historic places along our walk.
And so this is going to be in February?
This will be in February, and that's going to be one of the stops. It's always been a stop,
Right.
but it's going to be one
go
of the
inside now.
stops. Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's Saturdays in February?
That's Saturdays in February. And it's going to be and you know, a lot of people wondering, well, how can I get tickets? Well, there are a couple of ways you can get tickets. You can get tickets right at the Welcome Center.
Okay.
You can get them at the Welcome Center. You can get them also at the Old Town Flea Market. Also, we're going to have a table set up down there at the Old Town Flea Market. You can go to historyalive.info.
Okay.
You can get tickets there also.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to...
It is my pleasure. You know, I love the city of Portsmouth, and where I lived in Portsmouth, that house still stands. So,
really? Where's that located?
It's 497 North Street. You
Okay.
can't miss it. It's a white house, and it's got a mermaid right out in the sun.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, kind sirs. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Joining us now from the 1700s is Mary Veal. Welcome back to Portsmouth Now, Mary.
Top of the morning to you, Robert.
Top of the morning to you.
I know you're not used to hearing me in my brogue, but I'm just so excited about St. Patrick's Day coming in March and everything that we have planned for that. Whenever I think of St. Patrick's Day, you know, my brogue comes on me, I get light in the feet and start singing, and we're gonna have a great time just across the street at the coffee shop. Actually on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. It's gonna start at 6, and we're gonna have Irish bawdy tunes and sea shanty show. And this is the third time we've done it. Now, I must warn you, this is adult fare only. You know, there'll be no bad language, of course, but the double entendres and and the innuendo can get a little stiff. So if that's not your cup of tea, then find some
Get your coffee somewhere else.
That's right. Find someplace else to find your amusement. But if you like that sort of thing, I don't think you'll find anything like it roundabout, not even on St. Patrick's Day.
Well, so St. Patrick's Day then, across the street, will you be leading the singing or will you?
Oh yes, we'll have a whole troop of folk doing the singing. We'll be telling Irish jokes. We're going to have a fine time. And the food is going to be shepherd's pie, Irish stew. We're going to have different drinks involved, and of course Irish whiskey, Bailey's Irish cream. We'll have ale, of course, and it's going to be a fine time. When you walk in the door, you won't be able to help but have fun. As I said, if that's your cup of tea.
It sounds like mine. So again, St. Patrick's Day, and what time?
It's at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock at the coffee shop right here on.
Yes, it will be magically transformed into an Irish pub. So
sounds like a lot of fun.
it is the place to be.
So Mary, if people want information on this, is there somewhere they can go online to find out about it?
Oh, of course, they can go to our new website at historyalive.info. They can buy tickets at our information table at the farmers market, or they can even come here to the Welcome Center and get tickets.
Oh, great. And again, that is St. Patrick's Day at what time?
6 p.m.
At the coffee shop right across from the Children's Museum.
That's correct. We hope to see you there.
I hope to be there. Top of the morning to you. Our final guest today is author John Flood, who's written a forthcoming biography of a Wild West legend, Buffalo Bill Cody, a larger-than-life figure who closed the final chapter of his story right here in Portsmouth. John, welcome to Portsmouth Now.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, you have written a book about Buffalo Bill, but you have written some other things before this. I understand that you have done some writing for magazines about the Wild West and Western history.
Yes, Wild West, Western history is one of my favorite things. So I've written for national publications such as Wild West Magazine, American Cowboy, and then some regional publications.
So what drew you to Buffalo Bill?
What drew me to Buffalo Bill was finding out that my own great-great-grandfather was out in the Wild West, a cavalry soldier, a sergeant, and he ends up in an encampment with Buffalo Bill shortly after Little Bighorn, where Custer gets wiped out. So August of 1876 in southern Montana. That really stoked my interest, and then was finding out everything I could about Buffalo Bill since then.
Now, about Buffalo Bill, a lot, we know the name. Probably everybody heard Buffalo Bill. They also probably confuse him with someone else from the Wild West, and that was
Wild Bill. So much time has gone by. You know, household names: Buffalo Bill, Wild Bill. Two different people. They knew each other. They were both scouts on the frontier. Mm-hmm. Wild Bill was a little bit older, but Wild Bill was more the gunslinging guy we remember him from history, and he dies in a saloon at a poker table. Buffalo Bill is the scout who becomes a showman.
Okay, and that's what a lot of people don't think realize. He was in show business.
Yes, he very much was.
And so what was he trying to convey about the West in his shows? Because these were, if I understand, they were almost like the circus, but it was Wild West theme.
They were, and he bristled if you compared him to a circus,
okay,
because he tried to be educational and so forth, and he didn't think too highly of the circuses. But yes, he did stage plays for 10 years where he sort of acted out on stage these Wild West scenes, fighting Indians and shooting buffalo and whatever they might be doing out in the West, camping, campfire and all that. He brought it into the arena in 1883. Actually 1882, he did this thing called the Old Glory Blowout in his hometown, North Platte, Nebraska. They needed a July 4th celebration. They said, "Bill, what are we gonna do?" And he cooked this up. And they threw buffalo in, and they had some guys come in and ride and rope, and they did some shooting, and they really just kind of winged it. But it was a smash success, and that kind of turned the light bulb on in his head. Then he went big with it across the whole country. There's hardly a state that didn't see Buffalo Bill's Wild West at some point.
Yeah. Now, and when this is happening, this is sort of the pioneer period has sort of ended. Really, the Wild West, as we think of, the West is becoming more civilized by this point.
Yes.
So is this sort of, was he trying to create an image of what the West had been?
He certainly was. And I mean, 1890, a lot of people consider as sort of the closing of the West, and he started the big shows, 1883. But you know, a lot of the folks are still living. Sitting Bull toured with him for a year, and they went over to England, over to Europe. And Sitting Bull was with him. You know, he knew a lot of the other prominent Indians, and they got along great, and he would have them in the shows. In fact, one of them even mentioned it, because they have these Indian fights, and ultimately, you know, the Buffalo Bill side is going to win, and then one of the particular Indians said, "How about we win once in a while?" And they all chuckled, but they would mix it up, have a lot of fun, and they would show the pioneer cabins out on the frontier, and they would show riding and cattle and the wild game. Annie Oakley, of course, the trick shooter, she toured with him, came right here to Virginia on a couple of occasions with Buffalo Bill.
And he toured Europe. I mean, he played for the Crown?
He did. He went to Europe 3 times, 3 different occasions. First time being to England on the Queen's Jubilee, her 50th year of her reign in the 1880s.
Queen Victoria.
Yes, exactly. And really, honestly, he basically upstaged her, and she didn't mind it a bit. She loved him. She loved the show. And he rode into the arena during this command performance for just her and other dignitaries from around Europe and their friends. And he rides in with the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, this is a country that,
just a century earlier.
Yeah, and then they tried to claim this land. Only Buffalo Bill could have pulled that off without it being an affront or an offense, and she was fine with it.
Wow.
Yeah,
so tell us about his ties to Portsmouth.
Yes, so Portsmouth is very interesting. Your town is quite interesting because Buffalo Bill came to Virginia a number of times across a 44-year career. He came 15 different years. He didn't come every year. And Richmond, of course, and Norfolk, of course, towns with size to him. Lynchburg was big back then, maybe bigger than today comparatively. But Portsmouth, he came here one time only, one time ever, November 11th, 1916. He closed out that 1916 season, and sadly, it was the last show of his life. So the last show of Buffalo Bill's life was right here in your town of Portsmouth.
Wow.
He died 2 months after leaving Portsmouth, January of 1917.
Any idea what he died from? I'm just curious.
He was already suffering when he came here. I think he had kidney issues, maybe some heart issues, and they were just sort of accumulating, and he went to his sister's house in Denver, and that's where he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so he really our idea of the West that probably has been passed down from our ancestors who saw his Wild West show.
Yes, and me bringing this story to light of everything that Buffalo Bill did here in Virginia, I've tried to be as comprehensive as I can in my book that's coming out, but I know what's going to happen. As I go around the state and people buy the book, it's going to flush out, oh, great-great-grandma went and saw Buffalo Bill. And I ran into a lady in Bristol. I did a talk there, and she brought out postcards that her grandfather had bought her grandfather at the show when Buffalo Bill came through Bristol. So I know a lot of that's going to happen. It's going to flush out a lot of memorabilia and stories and things like this.
Okay. So what is the title of your book?
The title of my book is Buffalo Bill in the Limelight Across Virginia.
Okay, great.
And I left no stone unturned. It's everything he ever did in the state.
And this is good. This will be coming out in...
Yes, this spring. We're
okay.
looking at March, April right now. If things go smoothly, we can wrap up. It'll be out March or April.
Okay, would there be a website? Could they get this on Amazon?
It'll be on Amazon. The single best place people could go for information, particularly at this stage, is my Facebook page on the book, which is Buffalo Bill Cody in Virginia.
Okay. Great.
And they can find out information and also about the release and so forth and how they can obtain it.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Really good luck with the book. I look forward to having a copy, getting a copy.
Absolutely. We will get one here to you.
Yeah, but really, this is really something that most people probably have no idea of, even though I think we have a plaque somewhere here in Old Town at the site where the show was.
Yes.
It's something that people are not aware of.
They're not for the most part, and many people are interested. As soon as they hear it, they're like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming here and sharing this neat bit of history with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it for our show today. If you'd like more information on any of the events that we've covered on today's show or any other events taking place in Portsmouth in February and March, simply log on to portsvacation.com and then come to Portsmouth, where if you give us a day, we'll give you a vacation. I'm Rob Lauer. Join me next time for the April episode of Portsmouth Now.